Hi, hope all of you are doing well. So, the schedule of this week's webinar are at 10 a.m. we have risk and return why endowment policies may not deliver. At 11 a.m. we have overview of India's engineering, research and development sector. At 12 p.m. we have NFO review. Should you invest in NFO? So please attend these webinars and please share the link to your known circles as well so that if you think they would benefit.
There are many roads to finding winning investment ideas. Some old-fashioned investors like me take the long and winding road where we learn about industries, we discuss with people who have tracked those industries for years together, subject experts, industry veterans, those who work in unlisted companies. We take a lot of effort to understand an industry and then we invest in an industry when we think the opportunity is right. Often, the work we do in many industries goes waste because we hardly use it or we don't get the opportunity to use it. As I said, it's the long and winding road and sometimes the road to nowhere. Modern investing is seeing much smarter people than us who want to only travel on winning roads or what they think could be roads that lead to the right destination. So what do? They identify investors who know how to do it well and they follow these investors closely. They don't follow industries closely or businesses closely, they follow investors closely and very, very closely. So when an investor buys a particular stock, this set of people will know and they have their own network also which shares information. So if one person gets, he gives it to the other person. After all, that information comes free. They're not spending any money to get it or not even too much time actually. And what do they do with all this information? They use it to buy positions in the very companies which those whom they follow are buying. We call this coattailing. Today, coattailing is almost an institutionalized way of investing. People believe that that's the way to be. But there are two schools and I belong to the old school, as I confessed right at the beginning of this video. Because I feel that if I own the idea, if I own the effort, if I own the difficulties, if I own the opportunity, then my ability to own it better, longer and until it succeeds is higher. My ability becomes stronger. But the second school believes they have the ability to do everything even if they didn't do the work. So coattailing today dominates our school, which is the old school, and it has gone to a different level. Today I am going to ask Subra, who is a veteran of multiple cycles, including the cycles before liberalization, to tell us about his opinion, experience and perspective on coattailing. Subra, what do you think of coattailing?
It's easy for me to laugh at people who do coattailing, but some kind of coattailing I have also done. So you talk of the 1980s, you see 500, 1000 listed companies, you don't even know where to start. You look at the A group, then you say, okay, this is good, but you realize you may not make money. Then you look at the whole thing and then it becomes difficult for you to decide what to buy, what not to buy. So we did a very simple thing. We found one Mr. Deepak Parekh is a great investor. So we bought shares of HDFC and shares of Tata Investment Corporation. We knew that these guys are good guys. They will invest only in good companies. They may not be great companies, they may not, but they would at least, for us, that meant corporate governance was taken care of. So that was a big starting point. We were not going to invest too much money. So we were going to do that. So we would track those companies and we would track big investors and offer to do research for them. So that way we knew, okay, this company is worth buying. Siemens is worth buying because both HDFC and Tata Investment Corporation has it. So we would shortlist MNCs and we would say, okay, MNCs seem to have decent corporate governance because as a small investor buying 100 shares, you could get wiped out in one of those decisions. I mean, the amount of money you could lose was huge because you had a huge percentage of what you had. So this we have done. And then when you track good investors, one of the investors, I don't think he'll be very happy in being named, asked me to do research in 1988 on company called Supreme Industries. I knew nothing about this company, but we did a research report. And when I went to him and said, "Here is a research report, where is my fee?" He said, "What fee? I let you search and locate such a company." Which was true. That was compensation enough. It's like Guru Dakshina that you are giving by doing research for a person who identified a good company. So those were some of our methods of identifying good companies. We would look at the company and say, "Oh, they're paying 30% dividend. Let us look at it." Some of those things. So some kind of, I wouldn't say coattailing, but we had used coattailing as a strategy to shortlist. But there's another problem. There was this investor, again, I don't wish to name him, who was a member at Calcutta Stock Exchange, Mumbai Stock Exchange, and then National Stock Exchange. He would tell his staff, "Don't copy what I'm doing, because you don't know what I'm doing totally. Maybe I'm short in Reliance in Calcutta, and I'm long in Reliance in Mumbai, and I may be doing transactions in NSE to compensate for the two. You don't know what I'm doing, so don't copy." So coattailing has its dangers. But many people do coattailing, some do it successfully, some do it badly. But if you take somebody like a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, he must have dealt with at least 100, shares, but he made all his wealth in 6 or 7 companies, out of which again 50% he may have made in 2 or 3 companies. So if you miss those 2, 3 and bought all the other 147, you've lost money. So coattailing is extremely difficult. If you ask me, it is as difficult as the cyclist who holds on to the chain of the truck. You don't know whether the truck is going right, going left, whether it will brake, you don't know anything. Anything happens, you will be killed. The truck is too big, it won't fall. But if the truck stops, you could get thrown out. If it turns right and you're trying to go left, that force will take you, I mean, it will put you on the road or put you on the ditch or something like that. It's extremely dangerous unless you know the full cycle of that investor, what he's going to do. That's my view on coattailing today.
I'll share some experiences which I had being coattailed. While I rarely coattailed another investor, I could not escape being coattailed, especially when I bought stakes in very small companies. When you buy stakes in very small company, especially after 2015, you started appearing in the shareholding pattern. Appearing in the shareholding pattern between 2010 and 2015 didn't affect. I was on the SHP of several companies, but which did extremely well, but nobody coattailed till 2015-16. Then when I sold these companies and experimented with 7 or 8 companies, purely experiment, because I wanted to explore some new industries and see how it's working. At the wrong time, people started coattailing. I'm running a laboratory of stocks in a portfolio which is more learning, because I knew that that market cycle is not going to help me. But I still have to try something, right? So I'm experimenting, but in the experiment, due to oversight, my name appears in multiple places as a shareholder. And people started coattailing very, very actively. Now, I have not told anyone to buy, nor I have explained the hypothesis. It's the same thing that you mentioned about the person having multiple memberships. In my case, it was an experiment. And I was experimenting in several things, including special situations. And I was not expecting all these experiments to succeed. I was just trying to find a new way of investing in a more competitive market environment. Because 2011 was not a competitive market environment, whereas 2018 was extremely competitive. So I was just preparing for that. Now all these people coattailing assumed that these are all high conviction bets, whereas they were at the experimental stage. Just that they appeared in the shareholding pattern. Then one by one, most of these I got out. And I went into larger companies where I don't appear in the SHP. So my experience has been that just the fact that your name appears somewhere makes people coattail you. And if your name doesn't appear somewhere, they don't coattail you. It's as simple as that. So most of the people are only doing this research of who is owning shares in which company. And from that they are going on to researching companies, or they are taking the presence of another investor as initial validation, and then going and doing research, which is pretty much what you mentioned with respect to Tata Investment and HDFC. And in my early years also, reading balance sheets was a great activity, and we would always pore over the investment portfolios of well-run companies to see what they are holding in their treasury. It was, in a way, a validation. But what is happening today is that if you see a block deal and the exchange gets informed in an hour, the same afternoon the share goes up by 15-20%. Promoter is selling stocks to 5-6 PMS AIF owners, stock goes up 20% because that block deal leads to coattailing the investor. Nobody is bothered that the promoter is a seller and he is actually exiting a significant 5 to 7 to 10% position in a company. So today coattailing is showing more confidence on the investor and actually assuming that the investor is a smarter guy than the promoter. Any thoughts on that? Have you seen this before?
Yeah,